Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. I'm Christian. I'm your host, and I know you guys gonna know what I'm gonna say is you guys gonna love today's guest. Not only does he have a few amazing things I want to do, so I'm jealous and I hate him already for it, but there's a few things he's absolutely good at, and I want to bring him to you guys, and you guys gonna meet him right after this. Hello again. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show, and I'm really excited for today's guest because there's a few things I learned about him over the last few weeks. Um, he's amazingly good in looking at the little gap between thinking of something and getting it done. He also wrote two books. Anybody writing a book, you guys know how I feel about this. So I absolutely loved him. He is in New York City. He did some stuff for a place in New York City. He lives in California, but he is absolutely a creative entrepreneur. He knows about the grind. He has a message he will hopefully share with you guys about radical ownership. I absolutely love that. So, in this episode, I want to welcome Mr. Alex because from the wake up moment where he cracked the old identity wide open, the tools he used you to rebuild himself from the inside out, that's all the stuff you guys are gonna learn today. And with that, I want to call and ask here Mr. Alex to come on because he is not just amazingly good in what he does, he's an amazing human being. And with that, welcome, Alex, to the Disruptive Chef Show.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind introduction as well.
So, before we get going, any of our listeners, if you guys know Alex, please comment on the comments below. If you know something about him I don't know, let me know and please share it with me. Also, if he did something where you say, hey, it's amazing to see him on your show because he did XYZ for me. Also, let me know because we want to use this as a weapon because we want to make sure he comes back and comes back and comes back. But with that, Alex, you're a good looking guy. Life, you could do so many things. Talk to our audience. How did it all start?
Oh, man. How far do you want me to go back? Can we go back to restaurant days, childhood?
Yeah, as you were born, you were really young. No, wherever you want to start.
I was in another frequency of energy, and I decided I want to go down to earth and be born in a human body and have an experience of life. And sometimes I go, why did I make that choice? It's not always easy to be human. I think that's an important part of my journey. Is it hasn't always been easy to be human, and that's a big part of everything I've done is reckoning with the challenges of being me, and that and I think everybody has a version of that, right? Everybody has a version of the it might be they struggle with something outside of them. It might be the situations they were born into. Most of my challenges have been internal. My relationship to myself, the way I feel about myself, the way I feel about the world. And my journey, whether it's been in hospitality, men's work, men's retreats, personal development, leadership coaching, business consulting, writing books, has always been about me slaying the dragon of me. And I can't say everyone has a dragon, right? We're all up against something, and for me, mine has been my own battle within myself.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's what really I admire on what you do, and what drew me to learning more about you, because you talk about this all the time. It's the things within you. And listen, thanks God you had to fight all of them because none of us had to fight any of them. And for me, as a joke, this is what I have here on my desk. I always call it, that's me. It's a drop of blood with this smiley face on it. And that's sitting here on my desk as a a reminder for me on all of the things we had to overcome. And I think everybody goes through stuff. It's just the way you deal with it. And I think you are extremely good at this. And for me, this little thing is a reminder not to take myself too serious. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the connection you make, the people you touch, and the people you hopefully leave better than when you found them. Because I honestly believe people meet you for three reasons. Number one is you need to learn from them. The second thing is that you need to find a way to somehow collaborate with them. Or the three thing is that they will help you complete something. And that was always a big message of mine. And that little teardrop is my reminder to that. And for me, connect with your message because you talk a lot about breaking the industry norm, and I want to talk a little bit about that because you mentioned that there was a pivotal moment in your hospitality career where you realized that you just needed to do something totally different to be happy or to have an outcome of your life. So take us back to that day, and can you share with us what became that catalyst for you that changed everything you follow?
Yeah, I think there wasn't one moment, but there were many. I started in hospitality when I was 16 years old, actually 14, scooping ice cream. But
Hmm.
the first restaurant job was 16 years old. And I was in the hospitality industry until I was 32. I opened up 15 restaurants. I trained hundreds of managers and like leaders in that industry. And for a long time, I loved it. There were times like opening restaurants and helping develop people, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did some reality shows in food that I really enjoyed. And then there came a point where I noticed I started being frustrated more than I was
Hmm.
happy. And I don't know that I noticed it consciously back then, but
Yeah.
it started happening where I was, moving from, like in jobs, and I'm like, I don't like it here. I don't like the people I'm working with or my bosses. I don't like the way the companies are growing as they're growing. And I'd leave and I'd find another one, and I'd have the same. And ultimately, like I was doing this dance, and with that, I fell into things that people in the restaurant or hospitality industry fall into: a lot more drinking, a lot more, spending money on maybe things I couldn't afford, chasing women. And ultimately, I was in New York City and I was a director of operations for a restaurant group, and we were franchising and I was opening those. And my partner at the time, my ex fiance, said to me, "You just don't seem happy." And I don't remember that moment, like as in a like where we were or whatnot. I remember the
Yeah.
feeling of someone saying to me, "You don't feel happy." And I remember looking around. Can I cuss on the show? Can I?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember looking around and going, "Who the fuck is happy?" I was living in New York City. I was working in the restaurant business. I'm looking at the owners. I'm looking at the managers. I'm looking at the staff. No one seems happy. The customers don't seem happy, except when they're drinking and eating. It felt like everybody is just grinding and hustling and trying to get through the day to the next vacation or the next new car or the next sex or whatever it was. And that moment like rocked something. I didn't change in that moment, but it jarred something loose where started going down a path of, hey, what would it feel like to be happy? And I don't mean like, 24/7 every day. That's not a real thing. But to genuinely feel happy just to be yourself and be alive without
Hmm.
any external like things happening. And yeah, that was like the moment where where I started to look outside of myself.
Yeah. I love that. And so you called it, or you talk about that you were searching for something a little bit more, and this whole time while you worked in the New York restaurants, where you felt stuck, you felt unfulfilled, and that conversation. So talk to us a little bit. How did that conversation impact you, and what was the outcome from that? Because you talked about this, that hey, that conversation nudged me towards coaching, and that's where my whole decision, my whole stuff began for me to reshape
Yeah,
my life.
yeah. It didn't. But the first thing that happened was I started to just look. I started to just explore what else was out there. So I was still running this restaurant group, and I started to go to networking events in New York City. Just like, hey, what are other people doing with their lives? Are other people happy? Right? Like, where can I find? And I think this is an important moment. There's so many people that are listening to this or that are living their lives, and they're not happy in their relationships. They're not happy with their money. They're not happy with their jobs. They're dissatisfied or unfulfilled, and they're just waiting for something to change. Nothing's going to change. And if it changes, it's probably going to be worse if you don't do something. And the only thing I knew to do was like, I got to go look. I got to go explore. And so I just put myself out in the world in New York City, started going to networking groups. And one of the first things that happened was I started meeting some people who were happy. Yeah. And I thought they were full of shit. I thought they were totally full of shit. And I didn't think they were really happy because I didn't think anyone was happy. Mm-hmm. But I went, I met 7 different people over the course of a few months who were all coaches. And they were in all these different spots. And all 7 of them had told me that they did this program that changed their life. And they genuinely seemed like they were dissolving my story that no one's happy. Yeah. And at that point in time, I had never even heard of a coach. I didn't know what a coach was. Tony Robbins maybe, but that's it. And these were the first 7 that I had ever met. And the 7th one said, "You want to do a session with me?" Mm-hmm. And it was like, and I bet the other ones asked too, but I wasn't ready. And I said yes to the 7th. And in that conversation, what she showed me about me, which was just information I was giving her, was that I was the common denominator of the problems in my life, right? The life I was living was because of a series of choices I've made along the way. Now, it doesn't mean we always have the best choices to make, right? If you have the choice to, if you're in high school and somebody's going to a bully's going to beat you up if you don't go along with them, or you could be a loner. Yeah, it's a tough choice. But we always, right? If you're in an abusive relationship and you can leave, but you might not have any money or might be in a worse spot, there's a choice. That one thing that life always gives us is choices. And that choice to do something different was a choice that I wanted to acknowledge and accept. So I leaned into that, and like, hey, I got to start taking responsibility for my life. It's not my parents' fault, the government's fault, or anyone else's fault.
Yeah, I love that, because you talked a lot about the most powerful shift you have ever made was that you wanted to take 100% responsibility of your life. So how did embracing ownership changed the way you saw your habits? How did it change your relationships? And how did that change your identity?
So if you take responsibility, or let's just speak me, when I took responsibility for my life, all of a sudden I get my power back. Mm-hmm. Now I also have to take responsibility for how things go, right? So if I realize I'm steering the car and pushing the gas and the brake, well, if I go too fast and I get in an accident, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. But I also can turn the wheel and go to a different street if the street I'm on isn't working, right? Versus if I'm in a car and I'm not controlling the wheel or the gas and the brake, well, then I'm just a victim. At least I get to control and I get to say. So that was the biggest part is, wait a minute, I'm responsible here. I'm going to take control of the wheel. I'm going to take my foot off the gas and push the brake. I'm going to decide to go a different way, try a new thing. And that was really scary. I ended up leaving the hospitality industry, something I had done my whole life, and going a completely different route. I lost friendships. I lost community. And not because they were bad or I was good or I was bad and they were good, just because my life was right. We were all headed down the same highway and I chose to get off. And that was some of the hardest shifts. Was for a couple of years, I had to find new people, new community, a whole new life. But I chose that, and I started to build. I started to head in the direction of the life I wanted to live, which was one that actually felt good. I was tired of just chasing external things, and I wanted to feel better in my life.
I love that, because you talk a lot about healing and human potential. You talk about that point where you believe that all people suck. And I know a lot of our listeners can relate to that cynicism, because we all feel there's certain people which, they just special, they suck, So talk to us a little bit. What helped you not just transform that belief, but how did it shape how you lead and serve today?
Man, it's still, that belief is still something I'm working towards.
Yeah.
I should, there's no finish line, right? Unless you consider death a finish line. There's no
Yeah.
finish line. We're still, every layer of that onion you peel off, there's another layer. And so if I made a commitment to myself about 11 years ago that I was going to be committed to becoming the best version of me, a commitment to growth, a commitment to expanding my mind and my heart. And so every kind of, let's say, stair I go up, there's
Yeah.
new challenges. I think of it sometimes like a video game. Level 1 feels tough the first time, but then you beat it and you're like, oh, that's pretty easy. You get to level 2 and you're like, oh, that's a little tough. Then you beat it, so that was pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then there's some level that gets you stuck for most people, most games, right? You get to level 6 and all of a sudden you can't beat it because all the things that worked in the prior levels won't help you beat level 6. You need to learn something new. And I think that's how relationships, personal life, money, I think that's how it goes. And we keep encountering challenges, but they're for us. They keep expanding us, making us stronger. And so, that's a journey I'm on, and that's a journey I help people with.
Listen, I really love that, and because you often talk about the hidden, ways or whatever you want to call it, fear and pain drive your decision. So, what would you say to someone who's stuck in that very same survival mode, but knows that they're meant for more, that they want to have a more powerful life, they want to have more fulfilled life? So, what would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I think the first thing is actually making a choice. Hey, I made a choice. I wanted to be happier. Great. That's the starting point. And how are the ways that I'm making myself unhappy? What are the ways that I can change my situation? So the first thing I would start with, hey, what do you want? Most people are actually afraid to even say what they want. Like if I ask people what their goals are, they're like, I want a relationship. I would like to have a better, but they can't concrete tell you. No, tell me how much money you want to make. Tell me where's the house you want to live in? Tell me, describe your partner. And most of us can't actually do that because we're afraid to put ourselves out there, to like lay it out on the line that, maybe we won't get it, but maybe we will. Yeah. So I would start with, what do you really want? And are you brave enough to say what you really want? And then, okay, what's one baby step that can shift your situation? It could be, hey, you know what? I'm going to give myself 90 days to find a new job. I'm not going to necessarily put in my notice, but I'm going to write on a calendar at home, new job by whatever 90 days are. And for the next 90 days, I'm going to look to find a new job, something that makes me happy. I'm going to put a weight on a calendar that I'm going to lose, right, and get to. I'm going to write activities down that I've been afraid to do. I want to go jet skiing. I want to go jump out of a plane. I want to go to a men's retreat. I'm going to do one of those a month for the next 90 days. And now my job is to just take baby steps to can I book one? Can I schedule one? And I think the thing that would kind of blow people's minds is people are like, oh, there's not opportunities for me, or I'm stuck or whatever. Man, I'll talk to men who will say, I really want to go on your retreat, but I can't afford it. And I'll say, hey, we offer scholarships. Why don't you sign up for a scholarship? And they'll go, I can't accept that from you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, so you actually won't let yourself change your life. Yeah. Because I just gave you an off ramp to a new opportunity, and you found a reason to not let yourself take that off ramp. So
I also think that's human nature, because for me, a lot of people which do that, using that, I don't want to say as an excuse, but they using that as an excuse not to go because they don't want to be vulnerable. Or sometimes it's easier to stay the way we are because 100%. I know the person I am than to change, because changing 100%. Is scary.
Yeah. So what's more painful? Is it more painful to, and look, I think there's kind of two ways people can change. One is the situation they're in gets so painful they have to change. That sucks. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be in such a bad marriage that I have to shift something. Or right, like people are so unhealthy, they finally have to do something because they're going to die, or they get cancer, or someone dies, right? The other opportunity is you can find something that you want more than the way you currently feel, right? I didn't wait till I got sick or someone died to like change my life. I decided that there was something I wanted more, and I chose and created the discipline and commitment to go after it. It's not easier. It sometimes feels like it would be easier just to stay miserable working for someone else. And I think if I waited long enough, the universe would have forced me out of that spot. But do you want, like, there's a saying that God like tickles us with a feather or like hits us with a brick. Do you want to wait for the brick to hit you, or do you want to take that tickle of the feather, the inspiration, the desire, and follow that? And unfortunately, a lot of people wait for the brick, and that brick sucks. And sometimes they get hit with the brick and they need to get hit with 10 bricks.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate for like, hey, let's start moving towards what we want before the pain of the bricks show up.
I love that because, I heard that people change because they have to, or because they want to. And so I want to stay with this a little bit because you made that decision that you wanted to change. So let's go back a little bit and help our listeners, because I'm telling you, from the 130,000 listeners we have, there's probably 60, 70,000 which know something needs to change today. And something needs to change in order for me to show up differently, for me to have a better life, for me to be happier, because I absolutely love that. So can you talk to us a little bit? What does the beginning side of that look like? And if you would meet any of our listeners today, what are the 3 things you would tell them? Hey, try this and see how it changes you.
So the first thing is where you want to go. So I think of this as like, hey, I'm going to go take a step back because there's something more important. I think the first step is deciding who you want to be.
Yeah.
So taking a glimpse, something I do with myself and clients often is, hey, when you're 75, 80, that version of you, imagine that version of you want to be when you're 75 or 80. How do you want to view that person? How do you want people to see that person? How do you want to think of yourself as that person? Get really clear. What is it about? Is that person like loving? Are they kind? Are they generous? Like, what are the attributes about them? Get really clear. Now, if I have that and I go, okay, if I can become now that's kind of my North Star. How do I become that man or that woman? Now, if I was that man or that woman, step 2, what would that person have done in their life? Most people create the goal, and then they find out who they become in the journey to the goal, which is why so often people make a lot of money and then find out they're jerks, or they hate their life, or they don't like their family or their friends. So let's reverse it. Let's decide who we want to be, then create the goals based on what kind of goals would that person have.
Yeah.
And then what are some simple steps I can start doing now that are just going to inch me towards that? Don't make steps so big that you can't do them. Let's say you say, hey, that person's healthy and they have community and they've created a company. Great. What are some simple ways that we can start getting healthy right now? Can we start walking every day? Can we start exercising? Can we start eating better, going to bed earlier? These are things people can do, right? This is not like go get a personal trainer, change your whole diet tomorrow. Couple of things to start walking you down that path. Same thing with a personality. Let's say you say, oh man, that person's really happy and kind. Great. How do I start acting a little more happy and kind today? Can I do it with myself, with my family, with the person at the grocery store? But write these things down. So you got the person you want to be, the things they would create, and then what are little actions that we can start doing today that will lead us there? And remember, this is a marathon. We only have to take those first steps, and then all of a sudden we'll be like, whoa, I've been walking every day. I feel better. I can add something else in. Right? I'm going to start reading a little bit every day. I'm going to start cold plunging. I'm going to hire a trainer. I'm going to hire a coach. I'm going to quit my job, right? That little bit, we start, that little bit of momentum becomes bigger and bigger. That's why it's so important to have like little things that we can start with so we can build some confidence, build some discipline, and honor our commitments.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So let's take it a level deeper, in a world which is full of hype and all this stuff. So, how do you keep your coaching, your speaking grounded in not just real impact, but keep it in a way that it keeps giving people just a ton of you without that ego or anything which comes with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I try to remember and tell myself often that I'm not special, that I'm just like you and everyone else. I might have some skills that I've worked on that might be better than some people's, but they have skills that they've worked on that are better than me, that I can learn just as much from my clients as they can learn from me. That it's not my job, whether at Alchemy of Men retreat or with clients, to teach them.
Yeah.
It's my job really to support them to find their own knowledge and their own wisdom. And I think that's the thing that really anchors me is I'm not the one who knows. I have a really good ability to call out bullshit, but I can't tell you your truth, right? I can spot your inauthenticity and your bullshit and call it out, but I can't replace that with your truth. I can help you figure out what that is, but you got to figure it out. And I think that's a core component of my work. And I think there's too many people actually out there, whether they're consultants or coaches or speakers or men's work, who are out there telling people this is how you should live your life. I cold plunge multiple days a week because it really helps me with my mental health. I walk every day because it helps me with my mental health. I meditate because it helps me with my mental health, right? These things, because I know that's my darkness.
Yeah.
But if you were my client, you don't need to do those things. That's my path, right? I need to help you discover what are your tools, what are your things. And to just give you mine is to me lazy and inauthentic. And so for the listeners, stop listening to you need a cold plunge, you need a sun. Like, you have to you can try. I advocate try, right? Listen to people's ideas, try them, but you got to go, wow, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out the things that do work for you, and trust your path and find mentors and guides that are supporting you to drive the car. They're not having you sit in the passenger seat while they drive the car.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So I just looked at the clock. I can talk to you forever because I'm so aligned with what you're saying. Is for me, let me brag a little bit on you. There's three things I love about you. First of all, you wrote 2 books. Anybody writing a book, I know. I step back. For me, writing a book exposes who you are. So, because you want to have the best version of you. So for me, that's the first thing. The second thing is, for me, as we ethically stalked you, we realized that you wanted more for other clients than clients want them for themselves. But for me, what I absolutely love more than anything else about you is that the you is the you which shows up every single time. And for me, that's just super powerful because you see people which are a different person outside of work and anything else. But every time any of your social media things, you always show up the same way. And your message is very clear. It's very powerful. And for me, that's so needed in this industry, especially in industry. Look what COVID did. It showed how fragile the industry actually is. And I know. And there's gonna be a few thousand people listening to this, where they know they called to do something else. They know they called to serve people different, and they know that they can serve people so much better outside of the job they have. And so what I love about your message is exactly that. It helps them make that leap. And so now my ask of our audience is, if you guys want to know more about Alex and what he does, you don't just walk to the internet, run to it, because the information he puts out there is really clear. He has a very clear call to action, and he's amazingly good at it, especially helping somebody to make that pivot from the hospitality industry. So, Alex, let me look a little bit into the future. What is Alex working on, Alex, to the end of the year? And what is Alex working on his business to grow and expand his mission in that business to the end of the year?
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for all those kind words too. Yeah, thanks for saying I do. I relate to myself as someone who shows up,
Mm-hmm.
and even when I'm not feeling like it or it's not good, I keep getting out of bed and doing the things, even when
Yeah.
I'm grumpy and a jerk about it. Um, but I think about like Michael Jordan, Kobe. Those guys went to the gym even when they didn't feel like it, and they might have had a bad day, but they kept practicing. So, thank you. What am I working on to the end of the year? For me personally, I think more than anything, I want to be ready. I want to have a child soon. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on how do I become the best me so I can be the best dad. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pushing myself to grow in ways, more patience, more kindness, more gentleness, more self-love, so that when we do have a child, they get the best experience of their father that I can create. Like I'm not just passively walking into this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing for me about my personal life right now. Is that's what's on the horizon, and that's what I'm working on. In my business, it's growth. We have 2 more Alchemy of Men retreats this year. One just for men in August in Utah, and we have an Alchemy of Us as our first co-ed retreat in Arizona with 2 female leaders who are incredible. First time we're bringing men and women together to do really deep, powerful work. Next year we have 3 retreats already lined up, and we actually are talking to, I don't know if you know Krav Maga, but the fighting style. It's like a martial art,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah. I know that. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
some of their leaders approached us about cultivating a Krav Maga and Alchemy of Men
Cool.
event in September. So we're building that really quickly right now, and then we're going to have an event in September where people are going to learn self-defense and fighting and working with their bodies, but also working with their minds and their hearts. I'm always open to working with people one-on-one if they're a good fit for us. So people that reach out can always chat with me about that. And the fun thing that I'm doing professionally is I'm actually writing a movie. I'm writing a movie,
That's cool.
which I've done before, but I think this time we're doing it a little more seriously. I'm writing a movie with a man who's been on one of my men's retreats, and and we're having a really good time. We're about 2/3 of the way through our first draft, and my goal is to have it done, a final version of this script by the end of the year.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That's really, really cool. Because I always think I would be good in a movie. The guy which comes from Austria and builds a thing. No, oh, I'm sorry. No, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm sorry. Somebody made that movie already. No, but for me, that's absolutely amazing. And congratulations on the movie. That's absolutely, absolutely amazing. So, Alex, if people want to know more about you, where can they learn more about you? Where can they go to connect with you?
Alex Terranova coaching.com. From there's a tab. You can see the men's retreats or the retreats in general. You can see my books, my podcast, all the things I've done. Or Instagram is probably the place. I mean, I'm on Facebook and YouTube also, but Instagram is Inspirational Alex. And that's
Awesome.
where I post most of my content that I create and then kind of distribute it everywhere else.
Cool. And to our listeners, so we will have his information in the show notes. I will also share the 5 things I learned from today's conversation. But I also want to hear from you. What did you learn today? So write on the comments below. Hey, what really connected you with Alex? What is some of the things he said which made you think of not just the world of your life a little bit differently? And also write in the comments below, what is something you would like to do? And I'm curious to know, because we read every single comment of that. And if I can respond, I will ask Alex to respond. But that would be great if you guys could do this. So, with that, Alex, I have one final question for you. What was the best advice you ever received you never acted on?
Wow. Oh my God. The best advice I received that I never acted on.
Full transparency. For me, there was this guy who came to me and said, "You need to buy Yahoo." And I was like, "What the heck is Yahoo?" I should have. I was wrong. So I didn't act on it. So what was
Wow.
your moment?
It's hard to imagine one moment, but I'll say recently my dad told me that I need to be more patient, that life is a long journey and I need to be more patient. And I don't know if I'm acting on it. So I think that's the one that comes to mind.
I love that. I absolutely love that because, listen, my dad, I thought he was the biggest, pain in the ass. And now I quote him, he's 86 years old and he's still a giant pain in the ass. But he's the most inspirational guy I know. Yeah. And what he did with his life is absolutely amazing. And he always went for what he wanted to do. And you remind me so much of that. And for me, I wish you the best of luck with all the things you do. And then also for our listeners, we will have in the show notes, if you guys want to go to one of the retreats with Alex, please click below and find out. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here today, Alex. We need to do a 2.0 of that because we didn't get to some of the things I want to talk about is the book and how you promote the book and all the other stuff which goes with it. So you need to promise us to do a 2.0. And with that, I want to say thanks for the gift of your time. Thanks for being here today. And thanks for sharing so honestly about what you do and how you show up. It means the world to me. So, and to our listener, remember to fire up your career. Stay hungry for change. I'm Christian. I'm here with Alex. And we are signing off. We are out of here. And to you guys, be the challenge, be the change, and be the chef who sets the world on fire. With that, I want to say thanks for being here, everybody. And to our listeners, go out there and be disruptive, everybody. We see you later.